Genetics, which is the study of genes. So for the next 2 slides, I'm going to give you vocabulary words which you have to be able to speak like if you are like you know your stuff, okay? So when we're going to study genes, the first thing we're going to study is what is a gene, right? Where is it? No, but okay, in the chromosome, but look at this picture. Here's the chromosome, good. Inside the chromosome is DNA, which is made up of genes, okay? So the DNA that makes up the chromosome is made up of genes. What do genes do? Anybody know?
They it's the genetic code for everything.
It's your genetic code. I mean, listen to the word, genes, genetic code, that it's instructions that say, you're going to do this, you're going to look like this is what you do, everything. It's the code. We're going to look at genes, and we're going to look at how we write them, how we express them, what they represent, okay, all of those things. The first thing I want you to know is, for every gene, there's a pair of alleles. And I didn't write that way, so I like the way that came out. For every gene, there is a pair of alleles. So alleles basically is the way we express genes, and we express them with letters, okay? So gene pairs are expressed in letters, or allele pairs that represent genes are expressed in letters. So the gene for height, okay, the allele may be, not necessarily always, a capital T for tall and a little t for short, okay? That's an allele for height. So you see here, you got the capital A, little a. So there's a way to express alleles with letters, but then if the letters are both capital or both lowercase, I don't know why I covered those, they're the same capital or lowercase. That's what same means, and I put that here. It is called a homozygous. The word, and I'm going to underline it, of course now everybody giggles, means same, okay? And then we've got this word. What does this word mean? Hetero. Different. What's different in heterozygous alleles? Look at the picture right there of the flower. You have it right in front of you. You don't have to mention the word dominant. How? Look, how do we express alleles, guys? With what? With what? Letters. So if they're different, what does that mean? And one is uppercase and one is lowercase. So in a heterozygous allele, it's very important that you understand that the difference is one letter is capital and one letter is lowercase. Homozygous, the letters are going to be either both capital or both lowercase. Yes. If you see the word allele, what are you automatically going to think of, Nate? Genes and letters, because alleles express genes and we express them with letters. How many for each gene? Two. A pair of alleles. If you're homozygous, you're going to have what? Two capitals or two lowercase. If you're heterozygous, one uppercase, one lowercase. Good job. Now we're going to talk about different things in terms of alleles and the physical characteristics you see. So traits. Everybody shows variety of traits in this room, right? Give me an example of a trait. Eye color. So color. Color in general is a trait. Eye color, skin color, hair color, right? Color is a trait. What else?
Gender.
Gender is a trait, definitely. Yes. Texture is a trait. Whoops. Shapes. And what else? Height or size are traits. Yes.
What if
So there's a lot of other traits. I just gave you some examples of traits. But you see here we have the word genotype and we have the word phenotype. Who could tell me what a genotype represents? Based on what you already learned. Don't try to guess things. Based on the previous slide. Genotype is referencing what? Genes or genetics, or what's the other vocab we just learned? Alleles. We express alleles, and that is called the genotype of the offspring, okay? And it could either be 2 capital letters, 1 capital, 1 lowercase, or lowercase, lowercase. That's it. There's only 3 possible genotypes for this test. Then for another one, there could be more. What do phenotypes express? Not allele. Color, which we call a what? Traits. So yes, phenotype expresses traits, which is basically what you see, okay, in the individual. So let's say, in this case, let's say A represented angry, and little a represented sad. Or if you're angry, what's the opposite of angry? Happy. Okay. So this person, well, obviously A is representing green, which I don't even know why they did that, but forget it. We'll skip that example. We'll come to a better one. I've got plenty. So now we know we express alleles with letters. We know that genotype references alleles. And then when we write genotypes, we have to be able to understand what the phenotype is going to be or what the organisms is going to look like. So dominant alleles are always going to be written with capital letters. Recessive alleles are always written with lowercase, okay? Anybody know well, I wrote here, if you have a dominant allele, no matter what genotype you are, you express that trait, okay? If you have recessive alleles, the only way you can see the recessive trait is if you're what? No. So you have to have 2 lowercase letters. You have to be homozygous for that gene trait. So you have to have 2 lowercase letters because recessive is lowercase. So look at here. You see the capital A, and it says A is dominant allele for flower color. Little a is the recessive. What do you think is the dominant trait? Purple, okay? So capital A is a homozygous dominant trait, so the flower is purple. Little a is a homozygous recessive trait, so the flower is white. Capital A, little a is a heterozygous allele pair, right? But because the dominant allele always hides the recessive, when you look at the flower, you are going to only see the dominant trait. They carry, so this is how you were talking about eye color. You may see somebody has brown eyes, but they can carry traits for blue eyes. They're just hidden because the brown eye trait masks the recessive or hides the recessive from being seen. If we take your genes out, they're there, but what you see doesn't show. Yes. How do we write alleles? Okay, in the previous slides, we're not following any pattern except the pattern I'm about to tell you. So it's very, very easy. I wish most people would follow it, but we are always going to use the first letter of the word that describes the dominant trait. So when we were talking about brown being dominant to blue, well, let's say brown is dominant to white, okay? What letter are we going to use? B. We're always going to use the first letter of the dominant trait. So in this case, I'm giving you an example. Tall is dominant to short. What letters are we going to use? T. What letter are we going to use for tall? Capital T. So now we got to start expressing ourselves correctly. Capital T. What are we using for short? Lowercase t. Okay? Never another letter. It's always the same letter for tall and short, or for whatever trait, but you choose the capital letter. So let's do this again. If blue is dominant to gray, so blue is dominant, gray is recessive. What letter are we using? We're using B. Okay? If we want to say how we're going to write the dominant gene, what are we using? Capital B. If we're going to write the recessive, what are we using? Lowercase b. Here comes a more challenging question, okay? If I ask you, what is the genotype of a blue organism, okay? Remember that blue is dominant to gray. Capital B is blue, little b is gray. If you have to write this down, write it down. If I was to ask you, what is the genotype of a blue organism, what's your answer? First of all, what does genotype mean? You have to answer in your head first. What is the vocab? What is a genotype? The gene and allele combination. We always write them in what? Huh? Letters. So again, if blue is dominant to gray, what is the genotype of a blue organism? Uppercase B. That could be one because the dominant always masks the recessive. What's the other one? Uppercase B, uppercase B. Tell me, if it's lowercase b, what color is the organism? Gray. Okay? One more question. See how the vocab is important. What is uppercase B, uppercase B? Is it homozygous or heterozygous?
Homozygous.
What's uppercase B, little b? Heterozygous. What's little b, little b?
Homozygous.
Homozygous. Okay, one more scenario. If I tell you that something is smooth, something smooth is dominant, and something rough is recessive, what letters are we using? S. S is the dominant trait. We're going to use letters. What is the genotype for smooth?
Capital S.
Capital S?
Lowercase.
Lowercase s is one. What's the other one? Capital S is the other. What's the genotype for rough?
Lowercase.
Little s, little s. Okay? All right. So, why did I ask you all these questions? Because